So one of our goals with this monthly webinar series was we wanted to find somebody that one of our longtime Kurzweil users that had a really good usage. And we can see that in our systems, who just has a lot of students registered, consistently over time has lots of people using Kurzweil. And our assumption is on that campus, people aren't just using Kurzweil, they're using assistive technology and their learning has increased. So our product manager and international reseller manager is Will Skeels. And Will said, Melanie Conley from McDaniel College, really outstanding usage. And Will and I talked with Melanie about her program and said she would take the time just to talk about not how she just gets people signed up for Kurzweil, but how she runs her program in general. I think it would be really helpful for our Kurzweil audience. And we find out that Melanie does this on a regular basis. She talks about her program to several different colleges. So she volunteered to do that. So Will, I'm going to hand it over to you, let you kind of reintroduce Melanie, and then start with some of your questions. We're going to run it like a panel discussion.
Yeah, everybody can hear me. So the first thing, one minor note to clarify what Corey said there, the stuff we can see is very general high-level usage. We can't really see much of student data at all, just total number of logins in the last 30 days type of thing. An important distinction. I'm sure a bunch of you knew what he meant already, but for anybody who's new to the program, just wanted to clarify. So yeah, I'm Will. I'm with Kurzweil. Been here for a while. We are very excited to hear a little bit from one of the success stories for Kurzweil, although I know that this isn't just a Kurzweil success story. I think this is really a college success story. So Melanie, can you tell us a little bit about the population you serve, just so everybody here can get a sense of who you're working with and what you're doing?
Sure thing. So hi, everyone. Yeah, so McDaniel College is located in kind of north central Maryland, and we currently have about 16 to 1700 undergrads. So of our 16 to 1700 students, about 25% of the undergrad population is actually registered with the SAS office for academic accommodations. That does not include housing accommodations and emotional support animals. So we have a fairly large population, and we serve students with all different types of documented disabilities, from physical disabilities to sensory to autism spectrum disorders, learning differences, psychological disabilities, ADHD, you name it, as you know, as most of you serve as well. We also do have a fairly decent sized graduate program. So our graduate program also has some courses and some students that might use our services.
Fantastic, thanks. We love hearing success stories. Do you have any memorable moments or achievements from a student who benefited from the approach to accommodations? In general, it doesn't have to be Kurzweil, but on your campus?
Sure, that's kind of my favorite thing to talk about is the students. At McDaniel, we have lots of different levels of service that go above and beyond what ADA requires for accommodations. So our basic level includes all the ADA accommodations, but in addition to that, we have some fee-based levels of service that students can opt into for additional supports in all different areas. So it might be academic, or it might be individualized academics, or it might be social, that kind of thing. So one of our students that I'm so proud of is a student who came in her first year. She's like, oh, I can do this with my basic accommodations. Maybe I'll use them, maybe I won't. And, we all know the story. And by the end of her first year was academically dismissed and appealed, and was given the opportunity to come back. And in that process, decided she was going to use one of our higher levels of service, our academic skills program, to get more comprehensive support and really learn how to use accommodations at the college level. And that was the biggest gap for her that she was missing. So she added in that level of service, and she became a Dean's List student. She became a mentor for another one of our programs, our Step Ahead program. She is now in grad school. So she's kind of one of our major success stories, and she was a big advocate for using not only assistive technology, but all of the accommodations.
That's fantastic. That's, I think, one of the big reasons a lot of people on this call are here, including those of us from Kurzweil and other makers of accommodations. I know that gaining the support of campus administration can be challenging. How did you approach this, and what strategies did you use to get their buy-in for the assistive technology push there on campus?
So I have to be really honest. We were very fortunate. We have some former students whose families created an endowed fund for us with the tag and requirement that we use it on technology of some sort for our students. And we decided several years ago that this would be one of the things, the assistive technology would be the most important place to really feed those funds. So that's how we kind of got started. Once we were able to obtain some of the assistive technology, then it really became demonstrating those capabilities to the administration, providing data on the number of students who were using alternate format textbooks, who were using dictation software, who were needing to use a reader on a test and using assistive technology to do that versus a human reader, of course, saves a lot of manpower and angst on this with the students.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay. So going from administration to faculty, I know faculty have tight schedules, and I'm curious how you manage to carve out time with them to introduce and discuss the importance of, Kurzweil and other assistive technology, because that's something that strikes me as something you guys do quite a lot of, especially as compared to some other schools where I know it doesn't really happen as much.
Yeah. And, for us, one of the first keys was really looping in some integral faculty members, inviting them to an information session to show them what Kurzweil can do and its capabilities a little bit, and different ways that it might be able to be used. Then at new faculty orientation every fall, we have a 3-minute time. I feel like it's 3 minutes. It might be 15 minutes, but to kind of introduce new faculty to our SAS department and what we do. But within that timing, we always mention our use of assistive technology and how it might be helpful in the classroom. And then, so that just kind of puts a bug in their ear. And then we have 2 faculty presentations, one in the fall, one in the spring, that I do for all of faculty, but on different topics. But regardless of the topic, assistive technology is always integrated into it because it's all about working with students who learn maybe in a different manner and ways to accommodate. And then this year, I was really fortunate to be able to speak to all of the returning faculty and new faculty at a faculty retreat as the classes were, just gearing up. And at that point, I, mentioned Kurzweil. It reminded them that any one of them could ask for a login. I have been blown away by the response since then.
That's exciting. It's fantastic. Training is one thing, and exposing new faculty members to the program is another. But sparking genuine enthusiasm can be difficult, especially when there's so many other things going on. Can you tell us any details about how you engage faculty in a way that not only educates them, but gets them a little bit pumped up about the potential of assistive technology?
Yeah, I mean, the nice part is we do have a really interactive faculty. We are an all-in-person campus. Faculty members are stopping in constantly, which really helps. I've done a lot of outreach to specific departments, our education department, because of course these are teaching educators who will be using some things, hopefully, within their classrooms. So I've gone in and done some classroom presentations, and even with our graduate level special education classes, they've asked me to show Kurzweil and to give logins to each of the students in those classes so that they can try them out and utilize them with different projects and things. So we've talked about that with different professors and things. I've also gone into the kind of the remedial English classes. A lot of them have asked me to come in to demonstrate Kurzweil and have the students practice it while I'm there so that they understand what's available to them, because it can be extremely useful. Another kind of liaison we've really worked on is with the International Programs Office. A lot of students, as they're coming in as an international student, may understand their English textbook a little bit better if it is spoken still in English, but in an accent that's familiar to them. So they can make some of those adjustments, and it makes a world of difference. Or it might be better for them to listen to something in English so they're practicing the language more. And then finally, really, providing logins for faculty and staff has been huge, because then they talk about it and get excited and offer it to students.
Yeah. A quick aside about those then. I'm curious, for the international students and those in, you said it was remedial English, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do they typically come to you? Are they coming kind of one by one, just reaching out, or do they kind of raise their hand in those classes? What's the typical students?
Typically what's happened with the English classes is that the professors have asked me to come in and give a login to the entire class and show them how to use it, and then have them ask the questions as they're trying it out. And then the professor will offer to, provide them some text or whatever that they're doing in PDF so that they can practice utilizing it. I've also, this is kind of for later on, but another part that I've shown some of the professors is some of the writing templates, and they will use that as a whole class support. So they'll go in and say, okay, we're going to do this analytical essay. Let's look up a template. What does this mean? What do you do with the template? How would you use this? How do you change it to an outline? That kind of thing.
I think that addresses a question that just popped up in the chat. Maybe you saw that as well.
I didn't.
Somebody was asking, are there teachers that include assistive technology like Kurzweil as a teaching tool in class? I only briefly scanned the question. Hopefully that's what they were saying.
Yes, and particularly like in our education department, they will certainly encourage that.
Assistive technologies, you touched on this a bit, but AT is a multidisciplinary effort. And I'm curious, besides the main educational faculty, are there other departments there playing crucial roles in supporting this initiative? You mentioned international students, for example. I'm not sure that would count as separate, but just curious if there's anybody else you think comes into the equation.
Definitely. I mean, obviously, our IT department, because I'm not technical and they have to be able to support, anything that goes on. So that was kind of one of the early buy-ins. Working also with instructional design has been huge, because we use the Blackboard management system. So they are constantly looking for ways to make all material accessible on Blackboard and making sure that we've got the most updated version and things like that. In addition, they've just asked, we've kind of worked together to create a form where students can just click in Blackboard and request to have a login for Kurzweil, so that, and it gives a quick little blurb that just explains what it is. And if they want it, then the request comes to me, and then they don't have to email me separately and stuff like that. So that can be available to any student on campus, not just students registered with the SAS office, of course. The other department, Writing Center. I've worked really closely with our Writing Center. We have peer tutors who are trained in a semester-long tutoring course that they have to take in order to be a Writing Center tutor. Gone in, I've shown them how to work it. We've looked at all the, a lot of the different applications for how could you use this as a support when working with students in the Writing Center. And then the Writing Center computers all have Kurzweil downloaded on them as well. Our latest development is all the computers in the library are having Kurzweil downloaded on them so that any student can access it. We know they could use the web-based version anyway if they were in the library, but some of them prefer the desktop version or whatever. So we want to make it just available and easy at all times. So that way, those will all be prepared and ready for students as well.
Yeah, well, you touch on a couple of things. We know help there, right? Just reducing frictions, making it easy to even do the simple getting started parts of the process, right? Requesting a login without having to figure out who the right person is to email, making sure that it's on computers and everything. So that's seemingly simple, but I know it can be difficult to get that buy-in to have it installed on the computers, especially outside of your department. So that's fantastic. There's a question in the chat too for the computers. Do you need individual? Okay, somebody else is answering it. Yeah, it can be imaged to all the computers on a campus. Depending on what you can work out with your IT department, of course. And no, you don't need individual licenses. Typically, if you've got a web license of any sort, you can put it in as many places as you want. The only people who could sign in are the ones who have a username and password. Or if they've got a single sign-on set up for the campus, that makes it even simpler. I know we wanted to keep this a pretty short call, so I've got a couple more questions for you. I won't keep going down rabbit holes. Students come with varied levels of tech familiarity, and how do you ensure your training sessions are effective and resonate with students across a range of prior tech knowledge?
That's always a challenge, of course, because everybody comes in differently prepared.
Yeah.
We have a couple of different things. It usually starts with our intake process over the summer. We have a pretty comprehensive intake meeting that we do with students and generally include parents or caregivers if they choose to come. We talk about Kurzweil with every single intake and other assistive technologies. And then there's always a follow-up email that we send and provide them with their username and password, provide them with the links to how to, download Kurzweil, with links to YouTube videos, things like that. And same with other assistive technologies that we might use within our department so that they can make sure to do it. And we highly encourage that they practice it, that they play with a little bit over the summer and make it fun, show it to their families, because it's really unique. The kind of the next level is when some of our students come for an early move-in program called McDaniel Step Ahead. And we take up to 35 of our students who are registered with SAS that are new to McDaniel in the fall, right before the other first-year students move in. And we actually teach them how to use Kurzweil and other assistive technologies during those training sessions. What really helps us is we have a week-long training with our mentors who are previous students or current students who utilize everything. And we make sure that they are pretty well versed on the different assistive technologies. And so are our academic counselors. So everybody in that session is there to help. We tend to divide them up. Our campus has both Mac and PC. And as you know, the downloaded version looks a little different on Mac and than on PC computers. So we tend to divide the group up accordingly so that we can show them what it will look like on their own device. And we have them bring their device with them. Our graduate assistants who work with students throughout the year are also trained on how to use it. We have links on our portal page that is, the internal portal, so that students can access supports for not only downloading, but also how to use. And then, of course, we will have individual appointments with our accommodations administrative assistant who can teach students how to use it or help them with one aspect of, whatever type of assistive technology they're using. We also have some other levels of service, our academic skills program, where our academic counselors work really intensively with students. So that's yet another touch point for them to learn. Finally, I think, students are sort of forced to learn sometimes how to use Kurzweil, which is great because that might be how we're providing their alternate format textbooks. If we have the PDF version of the textbook, then it can be read aloud for them.
Melanie,
Okay.
there was a great question that said, how do you get people to show up to these workshops? How do you get the students to...
There's a very good answer.
Bribery. I'm sorry. If it's during Step Ahead, it's part of the programming. They have to come. If it's for faculty, they generally sign up. So if they sign up, they're wanting to come. We have tried campus-wide drop-in workshops in the past, probably not for 6 years or so, and they were mostly a flop. If you bribe them with pizza, it helps. But for the things in the Step Ahead program, it's just a required part of what we do.
Okay. And you touched on what somebody else said in the chat to offer pizza and soda, and students will come. So that's perfect. But Melanie, I've got just 2 more questions. I know we're coming up on 30 minutes here. Kurzweil 3000 is just one tool in the toolkit. Are there any other assistive technologies you've incorporated at McDaniel that are favorites or that complement Kurzweil well or are complemented by Kurzweil?
Yes. I think now assistive technology is so accessible on a lot of the operating systems. So we are constantly showing students how to use, the dictation software that's built into Word. We have the Outlook whole suite at McDaniel, so that's kind of an easy one for us. Of course, alternate format textbooks, whether they're through Learning Ally or something else, we obtain them a lot in EPUB format, all different types of formats. The Blackboard program has the alternate format built into it so that if a professor uploads a document, it can automatically be read through Immersive Reader or downloaded as a PDF for Kurzweil to read it, that kind of thing. We've created a SAS apps book that a couple of our staff members created that were just different categories of different apps that students have reported to us that they enjoy, and we've tried them out and found particularly useful. So that link is always on our SAS portal page so that anybody can access it. And then I'm always showing the app called Seeing AI. I don't know if people are familiar with that. To me, it's a great complement to Kurzweil because students are very used to being able to have things read out loud to them. Seeing AI is more for visually impaired, but it has incredible features. So you can just hold your phone, like if you're out somewhere, you can hold it up and it will read a description of a product that you're looking at in a store or something like that. So it's a great complement because it's something, students get so used to using it and then they're out somewhere and they might not have access. It really also helps them if they're provided like a handout in class and it's not in PDF. They can't pull it up in Kurzweil, but they can hold their phone over it and listen to it being read.
Fantastic.
Yes, that's another great one. We also like LiveScribe pens, but again, it's great if Maryland is an all-party consent state, so you have to have permission.
Yes, yeah. So, question in the chat: student concerns or complaints about the text-to-speech voices, and if so, if you've had that, how have you addressed the concern?
We definitely have had complaints over time. We encourage them to play around with all the different options that are available because there are a lot of options, and to play with the speed because sometimes in a faster speed, it's much friendlier to a student, and to practice with it. practicing with it helps your ears really develop, the ability to understand it quite well. Most of the time, students can find a voice that they're comfortable with. Yes, some things will still sound a little bit computerized. It's
Yep.
the way it is, but at least it makes it accessible for them.
Call out to a new voice, Tamira, in the chat. That's my new favorite.
Tamira?
Tamira and Darius are new. And I think Tamira it's my new favorite anyway. I think, Josh, to your question, Joshua, there are some fantastic new voices out there, some powered by AI, and it's really exciting for what's happening with text-to-speech in general. I think in the next few years, those will make it into more products like Kurzweil. One of the limitations right now is that we take security and privacy for students very seriously. And many of those AI-powered voices, including like Amazon Polly and the Microsoft Neural Cloud voices, which sound fantastic, are all powered by massive servers in the cloud. And we wouldn't be able to fill out a HECVAT or any of those other forms we get from many colleges or universities in a way we were happy with if we had to indicate that, yes, student personally identifiable information is being sent through our servers to somebody else for processing. We want to make sure that that can all run on servers that we control, and we're very familiar with the security setup. And more importantly, if you want to have those voices running locally on your computer, you've got that option as well. So one last question, Melanie. I know we've already blown through 30 minutes here. Just on a lighter note, have you had any unexpected or delightful outcomes you've witnessed as a result of integrating AT into the campus curriculum?
Yeah, I have two that come immediately to mind. One of them was after I did the faculty retreat presentation this fall, a professor emailed and said, could I have that login? Because I really think that could make a difference. I've never tried it. Well, then she emailed me a few weeks later and she said, you have just changed my life. I'm like, well, I didn't do it, but she was, she's taking a course and she said, as a science person, she just hadn't realized how difficult it was for her to understand some of the material and what a game changer it was for her. The nice part about that was that she then keeps talking about it with her students and models that it's okay to use these things. The other one was just a delightful moment during our Step Ahead program this year. We had a transfer student joining us and we're in the little workshop where we're, teaching them how to use some of the assistive technology. And we got to Kurzweil and he goes, where has this been all my life? and was just so excited. He came in the next day. He's like, look what I did. I played with this and this and this. So, just seeing the genuine enthusiasm and knowing that this is giving them access in a way that's new and different, freeing.
That's exciting. That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This has been great. Stephen is asking what college you work at. Love to look at the website and see what the resources look like. It's brand new to accessibility services. So Melanie is at McDaniel College. But Melanie, do you have any specific places people should go to see the resources?
I mean, they can look at our mcdaniel.edu/SAS, SASS, for student accessibility and support services. They won't be able to access all the internal portal things. Those are the resources that we put on for the students because those are internal. But certainly then you could see our different levels of service that we offer and different opportunities and things.
A couple of people echoing what you said about playing with the speed of the voices and that being successful.
Will, could you take a moment? Somebody's asking to state that URL again, and maybe I can try to type that in the chat, and then we can leave it up for a moment.
The URL one more time, Melanie? McDaniel.
www.mcdaniel.edu/SAS, SASS.
I think I got it in the chat. Yep, everybody's got it too.
Yep,
perfect.
That's it.
Well, thank you. A bunch of really positive comments there. So thank you so much for joining us. I think this was really helpful, and I think this will be useful for a lot of folks, especially those who are just starting out and thinking about how to build, programs like yours.
Yeah, fantastic. Melanie, you had over a 90% retention rate. the best for every webinar I just kept.
Yes,
Nice job.
Yay!
big turnout today too.
That was very good. Fantastic. Well, thank everybody for taking some time with us. Will, great job monitoring it and keeping us right around that half-hour mark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.